In June 1871, Dr. James Murray left Port Phillip in Victoria, Australia aboard his sailing vessel, the Carl, and set out for Fiji with passengers and cargo. When he arrived at Levuka, then the capital of Fiji, he heard that some ship owners had a quick way of making money. They sailed to the Solomon Islands and other nearby islands to collect people to work as laborers on the cotton plantations of Fiji. Ship owners were paid for each laborer they delivered. It was profitable work and Murray decided he would join the trade. He took the Carl to the Solomon Islands to collect his first human cargo. At the Florida Islands and the island of Isabel, the sailors held up beads and tobacco to encourage the coastal people to approach in their canoes. Then large pieces of iron, tied to ropes, were thrown down to sink the canoes. The crew dragged the struggling islanders into their rowing boats and forced them onto the Carl, where they were thrown into the hold. After capturing about 70 Solomon Islanders, Murray headed further north and, using the same method, captured 80 men from the islands of Bougainville and Buka. With a full cargo locked below deck, Murray headed back to Fiji. The kidnapped islanders did not get on well together because they were from different regions and spoke different languages. Crammed together in the hold, they fought each other loudly throughout the first night. Next night, the Buka men, desperate to escape, broke up their bunks and used the pieces of wood to beat the hatch, trying to force it open. Angered by this, Murray and his crew gathered together and fired their guns through the wooden hatch at the screaming and yelling men below. The shooting continued, on and off, throughout the night. At daylight, the hatch was opened and a ladder was lowered into the hold. Murray examined the wounded men and decided which of them would be unfit to be sold as laborers. He selected about 20, and they were thrown into the sea along with the 50 who were dead. The deck was cleaned and the Carl continued towards Fiji with the remaining 76 prisoners, now fearful and silent, in the hold. Several days later, the Carl was stopped and boarded by Captain Markham of the British naval vessel HMS Rosario. His duty was to make sure there was no mistreatment of laborers. However, Markham was not careful enough with his inspection and failed to notice the bullet holes in the woodwork of the Carl. He judged that conditions on the Carl seemed normal and Murray was allowed to continue. Murray reached Fiji, and sold his cargo. But the truth became known several months later, when Murray agreed to stand up in court and tell what had happened on that terrible journey. He had heard that there was going to be an inquiry into the voyage of the Carl, so, to save himself, he agreed to tell everything if his freedom from prosecution was guaranteed. A few of the Carl's crew were tried in Melbourne and some were jailed. During the trial, it became clear that Murray was responsible for the shooting of the kidnapped